Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to this session. I wanted to inform that this session is being recorded, so everyone that cannot join right now can have a look at this webinar later. I hope that everyone has had a good week so far, and welcome to this session. I'm very excited that I'll be talking today about enabling digital transformation and reshaping it through the lens of AI, GenAI and AI, of course. My name is Ornela Hogu, and I'm a part of the academic staff at the Meshdeu education. Well, we can kick it off, and I wanted to present, first of all, the agenda for today. We'll have a briefly kick off during this webinar, and we'll delve into the topics of exploring the evolution of digital transformation, defining the key concepts. Then we'll jump to the most, like 4 pillars that we want to consider when we are evaluating the digital transformation. Then there is a very interesting tool that the EU has provided on how to quantify the digital transformation and digital maturity for every industry. And then, of course, we will connect the impact that GenAI is having on the digital transformation. At the very end, I have prepared a session for Q&A, questions from the audience. And yeah, let's kick it off. So today we live in a world where everything is in the constant change. The technology is providing us with the tools that we need to speed up our work. But it's very crucial to understand and to look back in time. And that's why I wanted to bring here 2 examples of the industries that they didn't manage to become competitive in the market, and here I wanted to focus on the Kodak. Kodak, we know the very famous brand, which back in 1975 they were doing very well. The stock price was about 106, and what does that mean? 106 is about 500 USD in the today's dollars. But what we see in the graph, and here the source is taken from the Yahoo Finance, we see that they are worth now about $6, which means that they didn't manage to stay competitive on the market. They didn't manage to change their strategy and change their way that they operate with their model business. That's why they failed. So they didn't future-proof their business from this perspective. And this is an indicator of how important the digital transformation is. Another very famous company was the Blockbuster. Blockbuster was very famous about making movies, and people could rent those online. Initially, Blockbuster, they did good because they could adapt to change from VCR to DVD, and they could add the games. But then they didn't figure out that people actually, they weren't buying the DVDs, but they were more interested on the content online. And what does that mean? Does it mean that companies like Netflix, HBO, Disney, and other companies that they do provide online content, they could understand what the consumer was mostly interested about. And that's why Blockbuster didn't get this lesson, and that's why they got bankrupted. And we can see from the Yahoo Finance, the indicator, how well they were performing around the year 2000, 2002. And then they couldn't take benefit of the fact that they were the first in the market. Both of them, Kodak and Blockbuster, they were the first in the market, but they couldn't manage to stay competitive in the future. What this example tells us, this is an indicator. I want to emphasize again that businesses need to be ready to adapt to the and to stay competitive on the market. And here I want to state one definition. Digital transformation is how we future-proof a business. And this is a definition that comes from the history, from the experience that other companies, they didn't manage to stay competitive on the market. They were focused on their current strategy. They were doing good at that moment, but they didn't adapt to the new requirements and to the new developments that the technology was providing. Okay, but is there a real definition of what is the digital transformation? There is around on Google, you can find many definitions, like McKinsey, they have their own definition. Gartner, I could pick up something from EU Monitor, but all these definitions, they are around the same concept. So it's just the way we phrase the definition, but the meaning and the content remains the same. So I want here just to shortly read how McKinsey defines the digital transformation. So according to McKinsey, they say that is a fundamental rewiring of how an organization operates. The goal of digital transformation should be to build a competitive advantage by continuously deploying technology at scale to improve customer experience and to lower costs. So even if we deep dive onto the other definitions, the content remains the same. What is important, the organization needs to become competitive, to remain competitive, and how? By implementing and using the technology at scale. Here, I would like to point out two main things. What? Transforming the business and transforming the organization. What does this mean? This means that people, like technologies, all businesses, they have been storing the data. We have moved from systems of records, where everything that was hard copy, they moved online. And from that, I need to okay. And sorry for the interruption. So I need to move, we need to move from systems of records to systems of engagements. What does that mean? Systems of engagements are not just we store the data online, but we need to get insights and understand those data. And how was the evolution then? The evolution was like from having the data online, we have the mobile revolution, where everybody can access the data and at every single point from every device. So the data was more accessible. Then we moved the data to the cloud. This is another layer of moving to improving the transformation. And from having the data on the cloud, we have Internet of Things, and absolutely the Internet of Things have generated more and more data. And from Internet of Things, we have all this AI, data science, GenAI that we can use to enable more insights from the data. So if we see at the history back in time, we have moved online, on cloud, Internet of Things, GenAI, data science, and so on. So we have a vast amount of data. And the point here is, with all this vast amount of data, how we are going to use that? What is beneficial for us? What do we need from the data? And this is very important to understand. Here, I want to come back on the point that to transform the business is not only to transform the current and existing model businesses, but to transform the culture, how the people embrace the technology and embrace the digitalization. And this is very crucial that everybody on the team stays on the same page where the company is currently sitting and where the company needs to move on. Okay. There are different literatures. They provide different pillars which enable the digital transformation. But here the point is, if we want to split some of them in another pillar, or if we want to concatenate them. So I have identified 4 main pillars, which are vision and strategy, culture and people, processes, and technology. And we'll deep dive into each of those in the other slides as we move on. Let's start with the first, with the vision and the strategy. Why that is important? According to a study that McKinsey provides, they suggest that 70% of digital transformation projects, they do fail because there is a lack on the goal that is stated. What does that mean? Here I have taken some examples from different companies, and here I was a bit diverse to pick up industries that are content, social media, business, and so on. I wanted to be a bit diverse here. But why is it important to have a framed, a clear and compelling vision and mission statement? First, I want to clarify the difference between the vision and the mission. The vision, it tells more how the company is operating right now, right? How, what's the scope right now? How are the processes right now, the target audience, and so on. The mission is like, where do we want to stand in the future? Here, these companies, they have a very clear understanding of what they want to be. Create, like LinkedIn, create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Okay, Google might be for most of us, but Uber, we ignite opportunity by setting the work in. So these companies that are very successful, they have crafted a clear definition of what is their vision. And it's not only crafting that, but even communicating that with the team, making sure that that is understood from all the business stakeholders and all the relevant parties that are involved when we are transforming our business. And here, I want to point out something very important. How we can make that our vision, our project, to move that to the next level. We need to ensure that the leadership is supporting us. And all the leadership that can enable the digital transformation and can support by funding those, they can be different. I have here provided some examples like CEO, COO, CMO, CTO, and so on. They all have the capacity and to provide us with the funding and the support to move to the next level. But sometimes people get stuck in this phase. Maybe the idea and the vision is very clear, but we need to understand more about the person we are talking. So what is something that motivates them? Because if the person that is sponsoring our project is about to be retired, he wouldn't be very interesting maybe to consume his last years on a stressful projects. So this is something that we should keep in mind, the motivation of the other person. And the other question mark here would be who influences them. These are two main questions that we need to keep in mind before moving on with our vision. Because maybe great ideas, they get they get lost because there is no support from the leadership team. And this is something very, very crucial, because the idea and the tools can be there, but without the support, there is no way to move in. Okay, this was like the first pillar, but the second pillar, which is like the culture and the people. Here I want to stop in three main categories. First of all, sometimes we need to be very clear on setting up the boundaries. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we are not collaborating with other team members or other colleagues, but we need to make sure that when we want some feedback from our team members, we need to make sure that he's or she is the relevant person. What does that mean? We need to stop asking for feedback if we know that the other person has no experience on the project that we are trying to implement. And this is not harsh, but this is finding the right balance of spending the time in a productive way. The second point that I want to emphasize is having an open communication. And with open communications, there is vast amount of ways to do that. By having town halls, workshops, by having a time frame on our calendar that we meet with people, that we need to have a discussion. Maybe sometimes not necessarily an official meeting, but something more informal. So it's very important that we build this bidirectional way of communication. And this derives us to the last point, to develop a culture where everybody's learning and everybody's motivated to bring the innovation. And here, people get motivated when they have the tools to do so, when they feel that their manager, their boss is supporting them. They feel, from psychological point of view, they feel safe, because some projects are prototypes, and prototypes sometimes might fail. But here the team needs the support that maybe a failure is a lesson and we need to redirect ourselves in a better way. So, but in order to do that, the main leader needs to give this energy to the team. So the team doesn't the team can have the opportunity to bring the innovation. Yes, sometimes this part of the culture from experience, it's very important. This can make that a project can become successful or not so successful, because the tools, technology is there, and the tools are infinite to use. But how we use those and how we bring everything together is more important and more difficult to coordinate. And with all this culture and people, I would like the third pillar and fourth. I try to merge those together, processes and technology. About the processes, it's very important to emphasize and have a clear understanding what we want to achieve. And with that being said, I want to give a statement. The scope of the project would be to bring the X product. I'm not giving a name, X product or a service. We want to bring them that live for within 12 months. And that's a specific statement. So within 12 months, we want to have that online. And here, this directs the team. So we have a specific requirement. Also, another important point is to identify the processes that we want to change. We need to find that balance, the trade-off. Would we benefit if we automate a process or not? Is that process so much complex that would really reduce the time, or there is no point to automate that? So we need to have a clear list of the processes that we want to include in this transformation and to see the impact on other streams. And of course, to identify bottlenecks, slowdowns, dependencies before just starting and trying to automate that process. Another important part is the technology. Absolutely, with the technology, we have plenty of tools that provides us with a lot of opportunities. But we need to understand how our business, how our industry is operating right now. Which are the tools that we are using right now? What we can leverage from the existing tools? And with that being said, like, why to invest in another technology if we already have something? So we need to coordinate to make an as-is analysis and where do we want to stand and what new tools we need to use. But on the other hand, if we use new tools in our team, do we have the capacity that people can easily use those tools? Do we have the skills in-house or not? And if we don't have, how much time is that it will require to upskill the team, or maybe hire new employees that have specific skills? So all this needs to be clear, which builds the decision makers to make like the right decision. Yes. Technology. Before I was mentioning something that how a company, an industry understands where they are, or maybe to define that roadmap, how where they need to be. So here I wanted to put like a road that has it's not so straight. Many companies, they get stuck on doing things. Like they think because they have all some applications on specific processes, they think that they are digital, but they forget the part of becoming and being. And here, how they can understand what is the maturity level here. So many companies, they have in-house tools that they have developed in order to understand and estimate what is the level of maturity of each industry. But the European Union, they have developed this tool, and actually this is very, very nice because this gives an opportunity to estimate and quantify the current level where a company stands. This tool has 3 parameters. I tried to make an exercise here as well. These 3 parameters are the country where the industry is located, the company size, and the 3rd parameter is like it is education, more technology, like the type of the industry. And based on these 3 parameters, everyone can go and there is a set of questions for each of these pillars, like this, like digital readiness, all these of 6 pillars that we have here, components, there is a set of questions you can go and answer. And there is an estimation calculation on the back that gives you some numbers, an understanding of where you stand. The exercise that I did, you can see the result on the right side of the slide. And this result shows that for my example, I was like 26% digital. So I was bringing some, not random numbers, but I was bringing some, example, which is like not real life, but I wanted to show here the outcome, how a company can estimate where it stands. And this is very interesting because digital maturity is a bit subjective. Everybody has maybe personal understanding of how what is the digital transformation that they want to stand, but having the numbers gives more a common ground for everybody involved within the company. And yeah, I would suggest this is a very great tool to unify when we compare industries and the businesses. And of course, I wanted to stop because so far we talked about the digital transformation, but digital transformation from the perspective how it has been operating before AI came into the picture. Here in this slide, I went to ChatGPT and I asked generate a picture where AI is reshaping the digital transformation. So pretty much the text that I have on the slide, and I got this image. So that's why I wanted to put in on the slide. What we see here, we see an interaction of people with with computers, not only computers, but robots and so on. It looks like it's very not so natural. But before understanding how AI can improve and make better the transformation in general, I wanted to look back at some data provided from MIT. They have encapsulated and compiled the data from Gartner, and it's very fresh. It's from 2025. What we can see here, we can see that like many companies see that like 49% of the companies, the survey was done by Gartner, as we see, where 644 business leaders in the US, Germany, and the UK found that getting the ROI back was one of the most challenging for all the investments made on GenAI. So here are some percentages where what they point out. They point out the lack of the talent and the skills, the lack of trust in the AI, in the lack of the data, not only the data, but here I would point out the data quality. That is what is there out there. And all these are huge numbers that even though we are in this period where GenAI and AI are blooming, we see high percentages that business leaders are not getting back the investment that they have made on GenAI. But still, we are there on the way on improving and getting better. I don't want to pause more on the numbers here because they are very evident. And on the very right hand, we see the more like guardrails for GenAI that are lagging behind. Like 70% of the firms are exploring GenAI or using it interactively. 60% of the firms, slide, I need to make it bigger. One moment. Okay, 60% of the firms have no framework for managing risk, and risk managing is very important. 46% of the firms don't have an AI governance group. And the last point is 92% of the firms haven't yet adopted policies or procedures to govern AI used by third parties or service providers, which is like high numbers. Because before starting and using a technology, we need to understand the risk, the governance around, the implications behind all those, and to make sure that we are using in the right way and in the right direction. And yeah, let me get to the, okay. Let's pause a bit, and maybe all of us are familiar about the usage of GenAI and how that can improve our life. I'll stop on the first point on user interface design and content generation. Think about, even in real life, sometimes we want just to start the project, just to start something, a task, an activity that has been there for some days, standing there. We need a starting point. And that starting point, even on the projects, can be applications provided by GenAI and AI. Why these tools can help us? We want to start something and we want just to generate a craft version or just to search a draft version of a roadmap. Instead, having an employee doing that from scratch, which will take a lot of time, we can start from something that maybe it's not it has not the true information, but we can investigate and do some iteration. But if we have a roadmap generated by different tools like ChatGPT and so on, we can have a starting point, and that can reduce our time. That content generation speeds up the project. It's like I do compare with real life. We just need to start with something, and then we can work on top of that and improve and reiterate and get better and better. Another direction where GenAI can support our chatbot applications. Chatbot applications, absolutely, we see that support different industries to enhance the customer experience. By enhancing the customer experience means that we get engagement with them, engagement which is more specific to each customer, and with the data that we collect, we can retrain the model and we can get better and better and unlock the customer with the issues that they might have. This is productivity. It's not that we are reducing the efficiency, improving on top of existing applications. The other pillar is personalized user interfaces. And here I have listed a couple of them. One second. Full screen. Okay, in the last point, apologies, but yeah, I couldn't see the full screen. The last point, that how GenAI can improve and in the transformation of a business by improving it and making better, is like personalizing user interfaces, which means that in real time we can improve our applications for our business in order to make recommendation systems. So we get the data from the marketing data. We see a specific pattern and we implement the changes and interact differently with the user. So this is one direction how we can enhance the user experience. And the last point that I wanted to stop, it's a bit more towards predictive AI, how predictive AI can be used in the digital transformation. Here I've emphasized 4 main points: the demand forecasting. And with the demand forecasting, what does that mean? We can use the marketing data, and with the marketing data, we can understand which products or services they are more needed. We can analyze those and redirect the marketing strategies. But this doesn't help only the marketing domain. This helps even with managing the inventory or defining the prices by comparing how our competitors are behaving and how our products are behaving. So all this predictive analysis can help and support on becoming better and better on our business. The second pillar is the market trend analysis. The market research has been always there. We always have tried to understand the competitors, how they are doing. And at the very beginning of this webinar, I was bringing the example of Blockbuster and Kodak. They didn't get that what people needed at that moment was content online, not maybe the devices itself, the DVD itself, but the content was the important part. So doing the competitor analysis, all this market analysis is not new, has been there. But the way we are doing now, it's more productive, it's more efficient. We have more data, historic data, and we can compare, analyze, and based on those, we can predict which would be the best approach to move on. The third pillar would be the risk analysis. Even the risk analysis is not new, has been there always. But what is new is the way that we are using with GenAI and predictive AI. What we are using here, like even on companies like asset management or understanding money laundering, when the banks, they want to define and put the ratings for each individuals. So this way of doing now, it's better. We have more data. We have more. We have the tools to understand and to rate, like individuals, companies, what is how high risk they are. And the last point would be the maintenance forecasting. Maintenance forecasting can be really a pain sometimes. And why? Because the maintenance, you deliver a product, you can deliver a service, product or service. But the point here is that needs to be maintained every single time. And you need people to maintain that. You might need resources which are expensive. So in order to understand, we can incorporate this reporting monitoring, predict, like, for example, from perspective powering we might need in the future. So we can scale up early rather than late. The other hand, how much staff we might need as we see the issues that they raise raise on the future. So all this maintenance can become better, not solved maybe 100%, but there can be some policies, some ways of doing better compared to what we had on a traditional digital transformation setting. So the opportunities are endless to become better and better. But what is crucial is always to future-proof our business, to have the mentality and to look back our existing model processes and to understand where we want to stay on the future. Because the business, first of all, market, besides staying competitive, they want to lower costs. these are two main points. Stay competitive. We saw the example at the very beginning. Each company needs to have the right mindset, the right culture to start implementing the digital transformation by doing first in traditional way, and then on top of that, having AI, data science, and that. But there is also a trick part. There needs to be an evaluation, a trade-off of this cost of implementing this automation, these new tools. Is the cost worth it for the problem that we have? But in order to give all these answers, we need to have a clear understanding of the path that we need to follow. So we need to start with the strategy and the vision, then to have the right culture and the mindset, then to jump to the processes and the technology. So it's not like we want to use the fanciest tools that are around, but using those wisely and with what the business needs at that moment. So it's a process. It's not a definite answer. It's a process. We have a clear understanding. We want to quantify, and we try to use the tools to understand where we stand and where we want to go. This is very, very important on the way. I'm not sure if anybody from the audience has any questions.
I actually have not a question, just a comment, because I'm also a company owner, so I was very curious to see the digital that tool that you showed, and actually I was surprised to see, because we are a company that works in remotely through digital means, and to be honest, the score was lower than I expected. It was 57% when basically we do everything online. So there was some notes about the use of artificial intelligence, just like you meant, and really it made me understand that although we are using these digital tools, we are not strategically using them to develop the company into new markets. So that was quite interesting, and okay, thank you very much. It was really interesting.
Yeah, actually, even for me, because every company pretty much they try to have Gartner, McKinsey, they have some ways of estimating, quantifying the digital maturity. And I was trying to find something more standardized, something that if I compare, you compare, we have a benchmark, kind of a benchmark, right? So I was exploring and I saw, okay, European Union, do they have something? And I saw they have, and that was very interesting. It's like a benchmark. Everybody is comparing on the same parts.
Yeah, this was very, very interesting, and it's actually, for me particularly, it was very interesting to real sort of a hype opener in the fact that sometimes we assume, take for granted that, okay, we are already a very forward company and we are missing some aspects of it. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, very clear that. But you mentioned that you are part of, like, you work on the industry and you are part of that. I would be very curious to know the part of the culture and the people when you are trying to move to a next level, like you are trying to implement, to automate maybe a process, to enhance the digital maturity within your company. How that is for you in general, your insights, that particular pillar?
It really depends on. We are a very, very specific company, although we work in cultural domain, but we do video games, digital games. So most of the team is technical stuff, and so we have also designers, but they all work with digital tools. And it's a very common preference, for instance, for them to work remotely. And not coming to the office, at least not coming frequently to the office. They because that gives, of course, a lot of freedom for them, and means that they can work not in the same city that we are. And so we have some teleworking tools and some workflow tools in place. But again, while doing the questions, I realized that probably we are missing a couple of tools there, just to be more present. I don't mean monitoring, but to be more present with the stuff.
I mean, I think that, like, personally, I think that it's more not how well connected they are, even though they can be remotely. Because, you know, being physically doesn't really change or improve, but how those communication channels are implemented, how the psychological safety is included. I think this is more important rather than physical presence itself.
Yeah, I fully agree. So our problem most of the times is actually when we are relating with some other entities which are not, let's say, so digitally prone or digitally oriented. And sometimes this happens even with institutions that should be like banks. So for instance, this week I had to go physically to the bank because some operations could not be done with their banking system, office banking system. So there are some limitations still. So I had to go physically there. I mean, it's not really a problem, but it implies, okay, it takes much more time, of course. So that's from that point of view is our main issue. But also in terms of artificial intelligence, I can say that, okay, we are using this for different purposes, because we do software development. Of course, our staff uses artificial intelligence for code validation and so on, and also for designers, for creative ideas and so on, like you mentioned. We are still not using AI in a, let's say, in a more advanced level in sense of creating, for instance, artificial intelligence agents.
Yeah, it's like 2025 keyword, buzzword. It's dating AI,
So that's our next goal, but that's it. I mean, rather than that feeling the score we got was too low, it was an eye opener, and for us to understand. Sometimes we get too confident, but we understand that we could do actually more.
It's like that point we get stuck on that doing. We are doing, but we get stuck there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even for my side, like those, like even from like code generation, it's not that you get trusted. You need to intervene there because it's like complex logic, but you have starting point. You don't spend time to write everything from scratch, but you go to the specific issue detail and just solve that one. So absolutely, even from my experience, that has increased productivity, delivering quicker things, and it's better. As I said, we don't rely 100%, we verify, but we have starting point, like even in life, just to start it.
Exactly.
I'm not sure, like, if anybody has any questions, that would be great, but any comments that I would add from personal experience, I tried pretty much to incorporate in there. The topic is very wide, like a side thing, like identified like by industries. You can deep dive to specific industry because each of the industries can be very different, has the different dynamics, and this is a very huge topic to have more sessions.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. It was really interesting. So, like I mentioned, we are going to make this available also on the same platform.
Okay.
And again, thanks very much for the presentation.
Thank you for your time. I hope you all have a good rest of the day and the week. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.